Hey guys, welcome to Brian's Man Cave. So today we're going to be talking about the Intellivision Amico, and I know I've talked about this a few times already, and I even did a live chat with the president of Intellivision, Tommy Tallarico, a while ago when it was first announced. So, I mean, this topic is obviously nothing new, and I think the reason why I want to talk about this is because I've been following along with a lot of the chats, or not the chat, well, I guess the chats, that have been happening on a lot of videos, because the word is starting to spread. Tommy Tallarico is getting out there, and he's putting the message out there as best as he can. He is personally going around and, you know, going to people's sites, going to YouTubers, going on the blogs and all that. He's trying to get the message spread, because there's a huge misunderstanding about what the system is about. And I've watched a ton of videos on this already, and I've done my own videos on this, but I thought today would be a good time to actually talk about, you know, the bad press, I guess you want to say, the slack that people have not been giving this system. And I thought I might as well do it on one of my my videos where I also play along. So I thought I'm going to play along to an Intellivision game. This is actually made by Carl Mueller Jr., who is kind of like he is a homebrew, I guess you want to say it. He makes games today on the system, and I've covered this game before. This is like an improvement of the original Intellivision Donkey Kong, and the reason why I play this one, I grew up with the original Intellivision Donkey Kong, which is well, not a really big fan favorite. A lot of people don't like it, and it's only got 2 screens, so it's not really, you know, something that people enjoy. I just grew up with it. It was my thing. I grew up with it, and it was Carl Mueller Jr., the guy who created this game, as a better alternative to the original Donkey Kong Jr., who reached out to me and said, you know, do you want to cover this game? And I ended up doing a video on it. I did a few videos on this one. So I decided to just play this while I talk, just as something to have in the background instead of just my face. You know, I've done this before where I kind of did a video where I was talking and kind of playing just randomly in the background. So this is what I chose. To make this clear, you're seeing a jumbled up Donkey Kong there. That's because of the emulator I'm using. I don't have the proper emulator. I can't get it to work. Anyways, this is not the point of this video. I mean, this is a great game and all that, and I'm just going to be literally playing it in the background. But what I wanted to do this video on is to talk about what's going on with the Intellivision Amico, and why all the negative press. And one of the things I've been noticing, you know, ever since this project was kind of released, or the word was kind of put out about this project, I've been kind of following along and seeing what's going on. And like I said, I did a video with Tommy Tallarico, the president of Intellivision, just after he announced the news, and he told me what was coming down the pipe, and a lot of it sounded interesting, and we had to, this was in the summertime of 2018 is when I'm recording this, so if anybody's watching this in the future, but he was giving a lot of stuff that was coming out, and everything was really just on paper and what was to come. And then he said in October more information would be released. And so it was pretty quiet from, I'd say, the summer until October. A few people kind of had their, you know, point of view on it, saying that it's never going to work, or, you know, whatever. Like, a lot of people were just kind of like speculating, but there wasn't a lot to go by. There was just an announcement saying that, yes, Intellivision is making a new console, it's coming back, and that's it. Like, there was a bunch of, you know, this is what we were planning on, but there wasn't anything concrete, there was no design, there was no nothing. And so, ever since then, we've kind of had to wait for more information. So we got William Mountford in the chat there. Love the original. And it looks really good. Yes, this is a really good version. Carl Mueller Jr. is the programmer. He created this game. And it's showing how the Intellivision could have had a really good Donkey Kong game on it versus the original one. But anyways, back to what I was saying. So, really, what has happened is recently at the Portland Retro Gaming Convention, Tommy was there, and he pretty much did a whole segment on what is coming up, Amico. And he actually gave a picture of the unit, of what they've envisioned. He talked a lot about the design team, who's going to be everything. He pretty much laid it all out on the line at this point. Everything that they have already, he laid it out on the line. And which I was impressed by, because I seriously was not expecting to see that kind of information. And if you think about something like, say, the Atari VCS, which originally was going to be called the Atari Box, which sounded terrible. Not that I'm slamming Atari, because I love Atari. I'm an Atari person myself. It just, when I first heard that the name was going to be Atari Box, I was like, are you kidding me? Was it like a choice between Atari Box or Atari Station? And it just kind of showed what they were trying to do. They were trying to compete with the modern gaming world, and that's not something that's going to happen. I mean, the Atari or the Intellivision, I don't think they have any chance of competing with the modern systems. It's just the way it is. But this isn't about the Atari, because, the Atari is doing their own thing. So far, everything is under wraps. They've been doing their crowdfunding, whatever they're doing. And that's fine. I mean, they're doing their own thing. We're just waiting on information. And hopefully we'll get some information soon. I mean, I'm curious. I hope to see what they have down the pipe. So far, all we have is a bunch of pictures and well, that's about it. We don't have anything else. But with the Intellivision Amico, Tommy has a huge plan lined up on what this thing is going to do. And he's laid it out on the line. And he's talked a lot about the fact that it's going to be a 2D system. Well, primarily a 2D system. It's not going to be only a 2D system. He has mentioned in a few of his videos that it's up to the programmers at this point, and the people who want to design games for it. Do they want to try and make a three-dimensional game? But that's not what the hardware is designed to do. It's kind of taking a reverse. If you think about the older systems, when they were really designed to be a 2D system, and then they tried to make three-dimensional games, and the programmers had to figure that out. And then we've kind of reached this area now where most of the games are three-dimensional, and now they have to figure out how to make a 2D game. So now we're kind of swapping it around again. And this is what the Amico is. He wants it to be a kind of a simple yet complex. He doesn't want it to be just... And I'm seeing these comments a lot. People are saying, oh, it's just going to be simple family games. Something you would get in a kid's system. I don't think that's what he's going for. In that logic, you would call this game Donkey Kong a kid's game, because it's not Halo. I mean, this is a simple platforming game. This is not something that little kids necessarily would be drawn into right off the bat, and I wouldn't call it a kid's game. Sure, kids can play it, but this is a complicated game. It's not like those little what do they call those Fisher Price things or whatever, those things that you buy your 3-year-old to tinker on. And that's what I think a lot of people are starting to say, and it's kind of like, I don't think they're getting it. So Atari Leaf is saying, not sure how I feel about it, I'm interested, but I'm on the Intellivision Phoenix, which is about 300 Canadian, and I'm interested in the Keystone Keepers 2 Kickstarter as well. Oh, I've never heard of that, the Keystone Keepers 2. I don't know what that's all about. But I have been following the Intellivision. Now, this is one thing I wanted to bring up too, and this is what a lot of people are making this kind of incorrect distinction. They're starting to look at the Intellivision Amico like it's just purely going to be a flashback system, and then they say, well, why do we need that? Flashback systems already exist. You can get the Ouya, you can get, there's all these different things you can buy. You can emulator, Raspberry Pi, but that's not what they're doing. Intellivision is not trying to create a flashback system. They're going to offer the original games, which is what he's said repeatedly, and they're going to have ports, which was another misunderstanding from what he said, was, you know, ports aren't going to be on the system. Yes, he's going to have ports, but they're not going to be direct ports. In other words, right now, there's games where you can play the exact same game with the exact same graphics on like 2 or 3 different systems. That's what he's saying. That's not going to happen. So if a game appears on the Intellivision Amico, it's only going to appear on the Intellivision Amico. And if a game appears on the Xbox, that same game is not going to appear on the Amico. That's all he's been saying. But there's been a lot of misunderstanding with that. And they're like, what do you mean no ports? So like everything is going to be unique? No, he claimed that right from the beginning. He showed us games like the Atari Classics, a Magic Classics, games like Burger Time. They're going to be there. It's just, some of them are just going to be different. Kind of like this one I'm playing right now. This is DK, or D2K, which is a Donkey Kong game made by a developer, which is Donkey Kong essentially, but this is the Intellivision only version of it. It's kind of the same idea. You're not going to find this on the Nintendo, or on the PlayStation, or any other system. And I think that's what he's talking about. The other thing I wanted to talk about is Tommy made a response video, which I thought was pretty genius of him to do this. Is, you know, start bringing it out early instead of just forgetting about it. He decided to, I mean, he's already going on a lot of the videos, chat boxes and stuff, and personally answering a lot of people's feedback. Because there's been a lot of negative feedback, and a lot of people are just slamming the system. They're calling it garbage. They're saying it's going to fail. They're calling it the Ouya Tuya. You know, stuff like that. A lot of negativity is being thrown around. And Tommy himself is actually taking his time to go around and actually watch these videos and correct the misinterpretations that people are making. Whether people are just calling it garbage, saying it's going to fail. I mean, how do you know that? How do you know it's going to fail? We're still 2 years away from this system even existing to say it's going to fail. I mean, this is not, like I said, this is not just another flashback system, which is another misconception. I've been saying this. He actually is going to design this thing that has unique games. It's going to have its own thing to it. But for people to be jumping on this bandwagon and saying it's going to fail, it's going to crash and burn, I kind of understand where they're coming from in a sense, because we do have you know, previous systems that have promised a lot and have failed. But there's a difference here, because he did his research. He's got a team doing his research. And he looked into what has been causing these failures, and a lot of it has to do with, first of all, most of them start off with Kickstarters, which he's not doing. And a lot of them jump into it without any research as to what makes these things fail in the first place. And so he's made this really clear. He's realized this has been the failure. And I don't think people understand that. I don't think people really know much about Tommy himself, Tommy Tallarico, that he really knows the video game industry. He's not just some clown, which some people are, claiming, that doesn't know what he's talking about and is trying to jump into the retro gaming market. I mean, sometimes some of these products that come out, yeah, we can kind of say, oh, you're jumping on that. But frankly, I don't think the retro gaming market is big enough for people to really, someone of Tommy's stature to really waste his time on. It doesn't seem right. Like, why would he do that? He's already successful in his own right. He's already got his, his video games live tour. He's got money. He doesn't need to tap into the retro gaming market to make money. This is not about making money, and I think this is where a lot of people are kind of mistaken what's going on here. And of course, these are all my opinions. I'm not, I'm not a representative here. I'm not being paid by Intellivision or anything to say any of this stuff. So, and that was funny because I did receive a comment like that on some video I actually made a comment on, kind of correcting them, and someone called me a paid shill or something, shrill or whatever, shill, saying that, are you a paid shill? I'm like, no. Nobody's paying me to say any of this stuff. I'm a fan of this type of gaming, and it's about time that we're getting back into this style of gaming. I think this is what I like about the new Intellivision Amico. That's, it's going back to this style of gaming. Like, sure, I could say, oh yeah, I'll just keep playing the classics, but I currently can't go and get anything new. Everything I play has to be old, so just want to see what Atari Leaf is saying here in the chat. Look up at Keystone Keepers 2 on the Atari Age. It'll officially be called Dan Kitchen's Gold Rush. Oh, that's cool. I love Keystone Keepers. That's one of my favorite Atari games. And then we got nostalgic for the 70s and 80s. Don't worry about what others say. I'm not worried about it. And then that's the thing. I mean, I think this is more of just a let's try and get as much information out there as possible, so people aren't just constantly slamming the system. And like I said, I've been watching a lot of videos. I just recently watched Review Tech USA's video. He did one with Tommy, and Tommy laid it out all on the line as to what's coming from the system and what's going to be happening, and kind of throwing out the common misconceptions that's what's happening. Nostalgic saying, although I'm not a fan due to the controller, I'm interested in it as well. Yes, now that's the other thing, is the controller. I mean, there's just so much to talk about this. It's almost hard to stay focused on one thing. But yeah, the controller is one thing that's garnished a lot of attention. And of course they're saying things like, they're just copying the original Intellivision controller. And to some degree, yes, there is a lot of similarities. And no, it's not the push button one. It's a touch screen. And from what I see from that, they got a lot to work with there. I mean, can you imagine what they can do with that touch screen? It doesn't necessarily just have to be buttons. There could be anything coming up on that screen based on what the game is you're playing. And the other thing is, the original Intellivision, you had to put an overlay over top of the buttons to get the different pictures and stuff. That is not going to happen in this system. You won't need it. It can just appear there as, you start the game. So, I mean, that's another thing. And then the other big thing that he's been really trying to get people to understand is that this disc controller, it's going to be a little bit different than the original Intellivision, in that it's going to almost act more like a D-pad than the original disc controller did. And that's what his whole focus was not that it's just going to be, you know, the standard slide disc that we're used to. It's going to be a huge D-pad, and he wants people to understand that. So we got Super Nintendo in there. Yeah, I just watched Super Nintendo's talk on the Amico as well. I gave you a shout out, Brian. The Amico looks pretty... Oh, cool. Thanks, Super. Baddest dudes, what's up, man? Not much. I just decided to do this as a discussion kind of thing because I don't know. There's just a lot of stuff that I've been noticing lately. A lot of videos, a lot of negativity, and I know Tommy Tellerico has been pretty good at jumping onto the videos that are talking about this subject and kind of, you know, throwing his two cents in there. But I also think that we shouldn't just leave it up to him to do all that kind of stuff. We should also, you know, if we feel that this is something that's going to happen or something that we want to see happen, I think it's just normal for us to want to jump in on people who are really just quick to slam it. Now, I understand that a lot of people are going to have their bias on it, and that's fine. I don't think it's wrong for people to say, well, this doesn't seem like it's going to happen, or I kind of have my concerns with it, or whatever. I mean, I think that that's fine. What I don't understand or don't kind of agree with is the people who are immediately jumping on the whole, this is going to fail, this is going to be another, Ouya, or whatever, there's going to be a Coleco Chameleon, calling it a scam. That I don't think is right, because there is nothing about this presentation, about the team that he's put together, the amount of stuff that he's put into this that makes it look like it's a scam. And it can't be a scam because he's not asking for money up front. So right off the bat, that's not a scam. But there's a lot of this misconceptions going on. So I just wanted to kind of throw it out there and kind of talk about it, leave it open to discussion. Anybody in the chats, I'd love to hear what you have to say and just kind of throw it out there as to what's going on. Because I've been hearing things like, oh, he didn't show any gameplay footage. Fine, he didn't show any gameplay footage. They're very... Disconnect. Okay. Just making sure I connected there. Whoa. Just died. Collector Vision Phoenix. I will buy it if it comes out for sale. Right now, can't back. Too many great Atari age games to buy. Yes, that's another thing. I mean, this is another thing that people are kind of getting this misconception, is that this is just another retro system. Those exist, and we know they exist. I mean, the Collector Vision, for one, is literally just a ColecoVision, kind of reimagined type of ColecoVision that only plays ColecoVision's games, which is different, right? That you still have to have the original games and the original controllers. It's literally just replacing the ColecoVision itself. And then you got the flashbacks, which is At Games, and recently At Games has been taking a lot of slack, because people just like to bitch, and I'm still trying to understand this. I'm still trying to understand why typically the retro gaming community is full of great people, yet people seem to bitch a lot. And so there's been a lot of bitching about the At Games products. And I kind of understand part of it. I mean, John Hancock did a video where he talked about the review copy that he got that was actually running arcade ROMs on it, and then the one that actually went up for sale had Nintendo ROMs on it. That I kind of understand, and he had a right to do that. It made a lot of sense. But then there's a lot of other people that are just going out there and slamming the product. And so I watched a video today from MC Mur, another YouTuber who actually talked about the At Games Atari flashback, the cheaper one, the $20 one that you can buy at Walmart. And he just kind of talked about the games and about the product itself, and he didn't just sit there slamming it like a lot of people are doing. I'm not trying to say that these new products are good or anything. I mean, I'm on the fence with it myself. I like the flashback. I like the fact that their goal is to bring these games back to the world. I like the Atari Flashback Portable because I can take it with me and play it wherever I want. I have a Flashback 8 and supposedly the Flashback 9, the SD card, can actually read ROMs, which I'm kind of excited about. But I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon and just immediately start like flaming them, because it's like, what for? They're trying to bring back the classic games. Who else is going to do that? Nintendo. I guess they're trying with their Nintendo Flashback, but they failed miserably because not everybody can get their hands on these things. At least not in my neck of the woods. I've never seen an NES Classic on the shelf. I'm still waiting on the info for the paddles, which are exclusive to this year's Flack. Oh yeah, that's another one. Yeah, there's been a lot of different. Now, At Games has been pumping out a lot of products recently, and so they got like the paddle games, they got the NES, they got the arcade, they got a whole bunch that they just kind of released. I don't know. I can't really say much because I haven't actually seen them physically. I've seen reviews on them, so I don't know. But I have seen people say things like, you know, the Intellivision Amico is just going to be another flashback system. And I'm like, no, it's not. The flashbacks, they're great. They're great for what they do. They're plug-and-play systems. They're cheap. You plug them into your TV, you get a bunch of games. I have the ColecoVision flashback. It's great. I mean, I'm not crazy about the controller, and you cannot, from what I understand, plug a real one in there because the buttons are mapped differently. There is an Intellivision flashback, which I don't have, and so I don't really know much about it. And I have the Atari Flashback 8, which is not bad. I mean, for what you get, it's not bad. I can't see myself comparing this to what the Amico is, though. The Amico is actually going to be a brand new system which is going to play proprietary games or exclusive games on it, which are going to be programmed with kind of like, you know, a modern gaming feel to them, but they're going to be simplified. It's different, and they're going to include the original Intellivision games, and I don't see anything wrong with that, to include them. In fact, it's kind of like when you buy your Nintendo Wii, and then you can still download the original Nintendo games on it, right? No difference. And I found myself doing that. You know, I was playing classic games on my Nintendo Wii. Just gonna switch characters here. So you know, I don't see anything wrong with that. I recently got an Ultimate 64. It's the FPGA with built-in 50. Cool. Actually, yeah, there's the other thing on the market is the Commodore 64 Mini, the C64 Mini. I have seen that on the shelves, and I've been kind of thinking about it. But again, it's another plug-and-play system. It's not the same idea if they tried to revive the Commodore 64. That would be kind of, I don't know. Now that I think about it, that would be kind of weird. If they actually, you know, if the Commodore 64. Now, that being said, if you would have told me a year ago that the Intellivision would come back, I wouldn't believe that either. I would say that was kind of weird. And so, like, when I first heard about this, that the Intellivision was coming back, I was almost skeptical at the same time. And yet, I've been an Intellivision fan my entire life. Like, I pretty much grew up with the original system, and been playing it ever since. It's been my favorite system. Donkey Kong on it was always my favorite game. Even though it's not the best, it's nowhere near like this one. I just always felt like the Intellivision was always a part of me, but it was always a part of me that I thought would always live in the past. And so, yeah, hearing that it was coming back, or at least a new system. And this is where I kind of got worried at first, because with the Atari VCS, when they announced that, I didn't get that same nostalgic feeling, and it was really because what I was reading about it, it really just sounded like they wanted to create a modern system and slap the Atari logo on it. And that's what I didn't like about it. Like, almost like they were creating a system that's going to... This is going to be the competition to the Xbox, the Switch, the Nintendo Switch, and the PlayStation. And I'm like, yeah, okay, so you're going to create a brand new system that's going to have all the same kind of games, because, frankly, I can't play any of the modern games. Like, they just don't appeal to me, or I just don't want to play them. I go into a Walmart now, and I look into the video gaming section, and I see all the PlayStation 4 games, and the Xbox 360, or Xbox One, or whatever it is that's out. I don't even keep up with it. And the Switch games, and none of them really appeal to me. Most of them look too complicated to me. I don't want to play them. You know, things like Call of Duty and whatever. Even this new Fortnite game, a lot of this doesn't seem appealing to me. And so I feel like the video game market is gone to me. It's just really up to the classic games, the old games. Even though there's a lot of homebrewers, much like Carl Mueller Jr., who created this one, that still exist, and they still make games today. But there's nothing really, like, new that's coming out. And so, I mean, even though, like, from what I'm understanding with the Intellivision, it's going to be download... Oh, whoops. I forgot you can go up with the hammer. I believe with the Intellivision Amico is you're gonna have to download the games. But still, at least it's something new. It's something to look forward to. And this is something great for, especially being someone like me who likes to do videos on gaming, to have something new to come out and actually be able to talk about it versus something that's 30, 40 years old. That kind of piques my interest alone. And yes, there is stuff like, and I know Tommy's talked a lot about Cuphead, and you know, there's a few out there that still pop out from time to time, but not nearly as much. That's the other thing. I wrote a bunch of notes down here just so I can kind of concentrate on what I'm talking about. I'm trying to play this game at the same time. Like I said, this is the D2K is this one, which is a homebrew Donkey Kong game. Far better than the original that was released. Another thing I have noticed, a kind of a pattern too, is that video that I've been on that's been talking about the new Intellivision has had a lot of thumbs down. And I don't know. Is that because a lot of these modern gamer people are coming on here? Because this has been kind of the pattern that I'm seeing, is that they're kind of saying, you know, who is this for? Who is this system for? And is it for the Xbox people today is it for, like, what Tommy keeps throwing out, where he says, you know, his mother or his parents? Is it for people like me? You know, the people that are in their 40s? You know, who's it for? And so I'm wondering, you know, these thumb down that I keep seeing on a lot of these different videos from all these different kinds of YouTubers as well. It's not just like, you know, the small YouTubers or the big YouTubers. It just seems to be like, no matter what, you talk about this system and you get thumbs down. You get lots of them. And that I don't understand. Is it the demographics, maybe? Is it the type of people that are watching it? Do they not understand, like, what's going on? Oh, okay, I can't get over there. Oh, dead. So that's just kind of like another one of those things that I don't understand. Why the thumbs down? Why the negativity? And I was watching, I don't know if it was the Review Tech one, Review Tech video that he was on, and that's Review Tech USA, who did a interview with Tommy, or if it was another one. But what Tommy was trying to say is he wants to bring the whole family aspect back into gaming, and I guess that's where the name came from, Amico, not Amigo, like the Three Amigos, Amico, which is Italian for friend. That's where he got it from. He wanted this to be like, you know, friends, family. And I do remember that time. I do remember I know exactly what he's talking about. I have a lot of memories from when I was a kid on the Intellivision, on the Nintendo Entertainment System, sitting around with a bunch of my friends and playing, and it was a lot more fun doing that than sitting there by myself playing these systems, playing games like Super Mario Bros. 3, even on the Intellivision, playing boxing. I used to love playing boxing with my friends. We would have like almost tournaments where we would argue over which fighter we got to be, and to just play boxing all the time. And there was a lot of that there. And as gaming progressed, it became like more of a one-person type of thing. And even though we have online gaming, you're still kind of sitting there by yourself. You're sure you might be speaking into a headset or something like that, but you're missing something there. You're missing something. And this is where Tommy was talking about the Wii, you know, the Nintendo Wii, coming in and getting all these quote-unquote non-gamers, or you know, people who aren't the typical. Sorry, I'm just checking my connection here. I don't know why this keeps happening. Seem to be disconnecting a lot. But yeah, so that's pretty much where I was kind of going with this. And I wanted to throw another thing out there too. And here's another thing that I wanted to throw out there, was that Tommy himself, he likes to actually interact with the people who are making the comments, which is quite different. I mean, this shows his dedication to the system, in that he personally wants to go on and communicate with the people who are just calling it garbage. Which it seems like there are quite a few of them out there doing so. And some of them might not be as harsh. They might not be saying it's garbage. They might just be saying it's going to fail, or nobody's going to want this. And maybe. I mean, we can't know for 100% certainty of anything. And yes, in 2 years, things can change, things can shift. We don't know. But why jump to the conclusion that it's going to fail? This is a completely different kind of system. It's not doing what some of the other ones were claiming they were going to do. and so to simply just jump on that kind of bandwagon, I don't know. I love this character. I think it's this one, Bruno. He can go up and down the stairs with the oops, with the hammer. I think the other one can jump with the hammer. Cool. But yeah, I'm really looking like I just hope that even if this thing isn't as 100% successful as Tommy's hoping, I think there's going to still be a big market of people who are going to want it, even if they can just relive the classic Intellivision days and play all the original Intellivision games on it. Of course, there's going to be licensing issues and stuff. You can't play every single game that you used to play, like this one, for instance. This is Donkey Kong, so it's a new product, essentially. Which is why Carl calls it DK instead of Donkey Kong, because Donkey Kong is obviously not something he can name the game. It's trademarked. Looks like we got the Atari creep in the chat. Be cool to hear his side of the story too, if he just chimed in. We're just talking about a lot of the negative press that's been going on. A lot of the negativity going on with the Intellivision Amico. Now, obviously we don't have 100% of what is going to happen. We have concept drawings and stuff. Yes. We haven't got gameplay footage, which was the other thing that I was going to talk about. We're talking about Intellivision Amico. And another thing that I've been hearing is that people are saying, oh, there's no gameplay footage, which is essentially what happened with the Atari VCS as well, right? There's been a lot of talk about the Atari VCS, and yet we've yet to see a single piece of gameplay footage. But if you look at the timeline of when the Amico was announced, which was in the summertime to October, there's been a lot of information released compared to what we have with the VCS, the Atari VCS. A lot more information has been released. And even the VCS, which has been announced a lot longer, still has not had a shred of gameplay. So I don't know why people are condemning the Amico when the Atari VCS itself hasn't even had anything, really. I mean, other than a design. Hey, we got Video Game Dust Sleeves in the chat as well. If you're not familiar with who Video Game Dust Sleeves is, they make custom dust sleeves for cartridges for like the Intellivision, the Atari, and I don't know if they do any Intellivision. Sorry, the Nintendo and the Atari. I know for sure. And I think the Genesis, Sega Genesis. They make custom dust sleeves, which was pretty cool. I've seen a few videos on them. But yeah, if you want to keep your games sorted properly and displayed nicely on the shelf, check out Video Game Dust Sleeves. They do some pretty good work there. Watch out! Trying to see what Atari Creep is saying over there. Get up here. I understand where the negative thinking is coming from, but I am seeing much less on the Amico than many others out there. It's a different animal altogether, though. Yeah, it is. And that, you know, it's an evolving thing. And a lot of the information that we've gotten so far is pretty impressive. That, you know, and I think what's happened is that Tommy is sticking to his word. he said he was going to release information, and he did release information. And we did get a lot more than what we expected. In fact, even in his last video, which I've seen, which unfortunately they didn't have the video of, which was with Review Tech USA, they couldn't get the video to work or something. But in the middle of it, Tommy was showing off a controller concept, but you can't see it unfortunately because the video wasn't working. So it's just gameplay footage. It's not actually like a, you know, kind of like what I'm doing now, where you're just watching a video game. You're not actually seeing the live footage. And you know, that almost happened the same when I did my chat with Tommy Tellerico. We almost had a problem in the beginning where his camera wasn't connecting, and but then he switched to his cell phone, and then everything was okay, and we ended up getting his visual. But with the Review Tech USA video that he just did, unfortunately they couldn't get the video. So but at some point he was showing off an actual physical model of what the controller looks like. So they are working on physical stuff at this point. Video Game Dust Sleeves is saying that they do all the cart-based games, including handhelds. Oh, that's impressive. I still have my old Intellivision, or no, Intellivision, I keep saying Game Boy plastic things. I don't have that many, but that held the video games. But Tommy is handling this correctly, if you ask me. The right info at the right time, giving this thing the right time to develop. Yes, there was a few things that he brought up. Also, you know, a lot of great questions that Review Tech USA brought up that I didn't even think of was, you know, how did he, first of all, come up with a date to say that this thing will be delivered on October 10th, 2020. And I didn't think about that. And yes, that is being ambitious to actually say this is the date it's going to launch. Because if problems do come over, you know, they're working on it now, but anything can happen. And what if they can't get it to launch, and then they're going to be branded as liars? You know, that date can come along, and then the next thing you know, they're pushing it back or whatever. They're saying, sorry, it's not going to come out till next year. So yeah, it is risky. And the other thing that was an issue, or that he brought up, not an issue, but what he brought up was the price point. The fact that he was able to say that this is going to be between $149 and $179, and he talked about that. He asked them, well, what does that mean? Does that mean that there's going to be different options available? And what Tommy actually ended up saying was, no, he's being realistic. In 2 years, electronic prices can change. And again, this is showing that he's done his research. In the past, you could see that, you know, things like Atari, when they first started making Atari games, they had to tell the programmers, you can't program this to be any bigger than could fit on this, like, 4K cartridge. People like, what's his face? Just drew a blank there. David Crane, who programmed Pitfall. He was told from the beginning, you got to make this game, but it's got to fit on a 4K cartridge, which is not a lot of space. And when he made Pitfall originally, it was too big to fit on this cartridge. He had to cut the code down, so he had to do a lot of, you know, stuff to try and get it to, you know, cutting of the code, recoding to make it fit. But then as we went into up the timeline, the prices changed. Things changed. RAM became cheaper. So you never know what's going to go on in, you know, the electronics world, where things can go up, things can go down. Parts right now to build the Amico could be half the price as how much it'll cost in a year from now. And so Tommy understands that, and he figured this out, and he said, you know what, I'm not just going to say it's going to be $149, because what if it costs more? And so he created a top price, which saying I'm not going to charge people more. So even if it is a little bit more, I'm not going to go beyond this. So he gave a range, which is fine. And I think people they understand that. It's like, okay, this thing is going to be launched in 2 years. Let's not just throw a price at them, or let's just kind of give it a fluctuating thing to say it's going to be between this and this. This is what you're getting. You're not going to be paying $200, $300, $400 for this thing. And that's another thing. Like, for people like me, I mean, I looked at the Switch. I thought the Switch was kind of interesting. I bought a Wii a lot long after it got released, not right away. I bought a Wii, and even then, justifying the price to me was a lot. And then I look at something like the Switch, which I'm not going to write off the Switch. I don't think it's crap or anything like that. But the price is a bit high. Like for me to buy it here in Canada, anyways, it would be about $400. And then to buy a game with it, it's about $80 plus tax, so almost another $100 on top. So $500 to get this one system with one game. It's $500. That's a lot of money. I don't have that kind of. I mean, I have money, but I mean, I also have a house, I have a family, I have expenses, I have a car, which costs me a lot of money. Groceries, everything costs money, right? So for me to just drop $500 on a system that I might not play, or that I might only play a few games of, or possibly even just download classics on it, doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm sure I'm not alone. I'm sure there's a lot of people in my position that are like me, who prefer the older games, who don't want the modern stuff, who look at the new stuff and say, forget it, that's way out of my price range. So when I see a price range of like $149 to $179, even the Atari creep, I remember he did his video on this system, and even he said he could probably afford this system. That's what I'm getting at there, with the price point. Hey, we got Billy O that just jumped in on the conversation as well. So Billy O, yeah, we've been talking about the Intellivision Amico. This has just been kind of a free-for-all conversation. No, nothing really uber specific. I just was focusing on the negativity that we've been seeing, and a lot of some of the YouTubers, but not just the YouTubers, but the comment sections. Even if it's a positive video, a lot of the comments coming in from people who are saying things like it's gonna fail, or it's garbage, or it's the Ouya 2. And Tommy Tellerico has been doing a pretty good job himself, jumping onto these people and saying, you're making this mistake, or you're missing these facts. There's a lot of facts you're missing. And sure, I mean, there's some videos going out there. In fact, Tommy himself just made a video. If you haven't caught it yet, I would suggest going on the official Intellivision YouTube channel, and he's got a response video called "Mean Message Boards," and it's pretty funny. I mean, he kind of just addresses these things right off the get-go, and it's kind of funny. Hey, we got Carl Jr. in the conversation now, in the chat. That's the very person who's actually made the game that I'm playing right now. He's talking off topic, but if you switch to JZNTV and obtain a real copy of Grom Bin, this game will look a lot better. Yes, I've heard that, and it actually will talk better, or it talks too. Yeah, Carl, I've been having a hard time trying to get a functioning version of Intellivision on my computer. This is the only one I can get to work, and this is the nostalgia one. I've downloaded the JZINTV that you've suggested, but I don't know how to set it up, so I don't know, maybe I need to like go offline and get some advice from you on how to figure this out, but so far I haven't been able to install it because this Nostalgia emulator that I'm running doesn't really play a lot of Intellivision games. It just crashes on me and it doesn't even load the game up. It's really crap. So I'd really like to get the other one up and running. Billy O was saying there's always negativity. A lot of people need to complain. Unfortunately, it's a part of a lot of people's personality. Oh yeah, sure. There's going to be a lot of people that are like the internet trolls for sure that are going to go on and be negative on every single video. And you know, a lot of those people, they're the same people that go on the Atari VCS web stuff and anything else. I mean, they just go and their job is to just make fun of everybody and to just I don't know, just flame everything. Sometimes I wonder if they're just doing it for their own personal just it makes them feel better because they go on and they slam something. A lot of the YouTubers, though, I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I mean, there's been a lot of YouTube channels that I've watched that have covered this topic. Super Nintendo, he just did one. I know he was in the chat earlier. I don't think he's in here anymore, but Super Nintendo did a video about this. Smash JT, he's a pretty cool guy. I did a video, or I did a live chat with Smash JT, and he actually did a video talking about this system, and he also went on the whole thing that this is going to fail, and kind of gave his point of view. And he wasn't just trying to smash it, just like he was, you know, jumping on the train of let's everybody just band together and say it's crap. He had his concerns about it, which a lot of people are, you know, putting out their point of views. So we got Green Lantern HG there in the chat. There are other emulators. I haven't run mine in a while, but when I did, I had to change it because it kept crashing. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, finding a decent Intellivision emulator for your PC is not easy for me. At least for like this one that I'm using is Nostalgia 5, I think 5.0 or something in Nostalgia. It's okay, but I have a ton of Intellivision ROMs that don't work on it, so I don't know. Apparently the JZ INTV one, which I believe Carl programmed himself, I think. I might be wrong. That one is actually pretty decent, and it's the original. What was it? I know I have this in. I got this somewhere down here. I wonder if I still have it in my mess of stuff. I had it. It's not this one. I did have it. This is not it. No, this is Atari. But I did have the I do have the original Intellivision one. I thought I had it down here in my mess. But yeah, the first PC game that came out for the Intellivision, which played a lot of the Intellivision classics, was running that emulator, I believe. Or at least Carl. Or no, it wasn't Carl. Maybe it was Joe's. Okay. What was his name? Sorry, it wasn't Carl. It was Joe Zibiak. I probably said his name wrong. He's the one who actually created the emulator. And I've been in contact with him. So Carl Mueller Jr. is actually the programmer for this game. So I'm kind of getting the two people confused. But yeah, it's definitely something different. Was that Super Nintendo Chalmer? All the retro consoles that try to come out get a lot of slamming and put down. True. Yes. And I don't know why. I kind of think that this is the point of why I'm doing this video. I don't understand why. I think it's great that people are bringing back the the classics. They're trying to keep this market going. And to simply say that they're doing it just for money, I don't understand that. The retro market, like this type of stuff, is not a huge money maker. Sure, the old Nintendo games, like some of them are worth money, just like some of the rare Atari games. Yes, a lot of the old retro stuff, if you can get your hands on it, if you can find it in a flea market, in a garage sale, if you can find the old games, yeah, sure, you can put them on eBay, you can sell them privately, you can make a little bit of money. But trying to make money off of just putting out emulation devices and thinking that that's where all the money is, it seems kind of silly to me, because the market's not going to be big enough. Compared to the modern gaming market, forget it. You look at games today that are like, you know, things like Fortnite, where that's all the rage and stuff. And even if you look at the videos that are being put out, like if you think of people like me who are YouTubers who talk about this type of stuff, I'm not going to get the views that someone that's talking about the modern stuff is going to get, because it's just not there. It's a much smaller market. So for people to just say, oh, they're jumping on the bandwagon to make money, I don't see that. I don't see how that's even a reason. Most of them are people who have a passion for the retro games and want to keep them in the market. They want to keep them going. I grab the hammer. Luckily this guy can climb the stairs with the hammer. There's a ColecoVision console trying to come out that I have at IR, and it looks like really good. Yeah, that's probably the CollectorVision one. The CollectorVision, what are they calling it? Is it the Phoenix or something? That looks pretty interesting. I think it's a Kickstarter right now, or it's some kind of crowd-funded one. It's not ready for release yet. Hey Brian, I saw the email they send, and it includes a lot of good titles and companies that are cooperating for this console, and best is cheap. Why would people hate it? Well, that's the thing. Tommy actually did a video earlier today where he was talking about that, saying that his main goal is to bring the whole family aspect back into it. So for people to be slamming it and hating it because of that, why? Why are you hating it? You're saying you essentially hate the idea that he's trying to bring family and friends back into the whole video gaming market, rather than people just staring at a cell phone or sitting by themselves playing in a basement alone with a headset where they can be communicating with some 12-year-old kid who's trash talking them. Like, he's trying to get rid of that. So Carl's saying, I programmed the first Intellivision emulator, which was picked up and used on the Intellivision Live CD-ROM. That's what I was talking about, yeah. So, okay, so I was right there. Joe wrote JZ in TV, which was partially based on my... Okay, so I wasn't way off. I knew there was some collaboration there. I just wasn't sure where it was. Yeah, I don't know what I did with that too. I had it here. I seriously had it out at one point. I don't know where I put it. But I did buy that first CD, and I still remember. I don't know what it was. It was just like one day I was searching the internet back, and this is going back into like 1990, probably 5, 6. I was searching the internet, and for some reason I was thinking about the Intellivision, and I kind of missed playing on the original Intellivision. And so I started searching on it, and I saw that the Intellivision Lives was a thing. And I got really excited, and I remember ordering it. Like, it was only purchased through mail order, right off the website. Windows 95, Intellivision. and I bought that. And it also eventually came out for the PlayStation as well. But the cool thing was with the PC emulator, I was able to actually add ROMs to it. Finding the ROMs was not easy, but I eventually found some site that was offering some ROMs, so I was able to play Donkey Kong again, the original Donkey Kong, not this one. This one didn't exist yet. I was able to actually put it into a folder, and I was able to play it, and I was totally psyched that I was able to continue playing my Intellivision games on my computer, which I thought I would never play again. And this was before I actually picked up another Intellivision, because my first Intellivision, the one I had when I was a kid, it eventually started falling apart, and then I had to get rid of it. And so the only game I kept, the only physical cartridge I kept, was my original Donkey Kong cartridge, which I still have today. Everything else I had to get rid of. And I really missed playing on my Intellivision, and so when I saw the Intellivision lives and that the Blue Sky Rangers were a thing, I got excited, and I bought the CD, and I was playing it on my Windows 95 computer, which was amazing. And then of course the PlayStation version came out, and then a version came out for the, I think the Game Boy, one of the Game Boys, I'm not sure which one, DS or something, came out for that, and, you know, that was what was telling me that this stuff was still going to live. And of course the Atari flashbacks came out, the one I was just kind of showing earlier, Activision Classics and all that stuff came out. But this market is for the people that had the passion for it. This is for the people like me, which kind of is where the Amico is targeting. It's targeting people like me, but it's also targeting a whole new audience, and I think this is where the disconnect is coming from. It's not targeting the modern gamer. It's not going to be the new system to compete with the Xbox, with the PlayStation, and that's fine, and that's what he keeps saying. That's what Tommy keeps saying. This is not for them. This can coincide with that. So you can still buy the PlayStation, you can still buy your modern gaming system, but you could buy this one as well. It's two different things. And he was kind of using an analogy. What I thought was kind of interesting was comparing it to, say, a Ferrari. If you could afford a Ferrari and you bought your Ferrari, would that mean you would never buy a bicycle or anything else other than just your Ferrari, right? You have your Ferrari, but you're also going to have your you still like a bicycle, even though it's far less superior to the Ferrari. So that's kind of what his analogy was yes, the PlayStation will exist. You know, as long as Sony wants to keep making a new system, it's going to make a new system. The new system will exist. Xbox, same thing. Microsoft will still do it. Nintendo, who knows where Nintendo's going to go? I mean, they keep innovating. So yes, these systems will exist. So this system is not meant to say, hey, instead of buying those, buy me instead. That's not what he's trying to do. It's a whole different market of people. It's the other people who would not buy those systems that might buy this system and say, hey, there's something I can play. There's something I can actually handle. With this, so Green Lanterns HD is saying, with this generation, I think it's going to be a hit with kids because of the lineup and the fact the games are cheap and family friendly. Well, yeah, and that's another thing. That's another thing that's been taking a lot of slack, is people having a problem with the fact that the games are rated E, meaning what, 10 up to rate, or yeah, age of 10. Sorry. So, essentially these games aren't going to be full of extreme violence. There's going to be no nudity. There's going to be no swearing. There's going to be, you know, there's not going to be somebody chopping heads off. or any of the violent stuff that you might see in today's modern games. And some people are saying, why? Why have a limitation on the system? Why do that? Why not have a parental control system and, you know, all the stuff that the modern systems are trying to instill? Because that complicates it. If you're going to have to now have this setting on your system that says don't allow to play certain games, and people need to know how to set it to that, and then when they go look for games, and they have to make sure that they're not buying the wrong game. That's exactly what he doesn't want. He doesn't want that. He doesn't want to have that confusion. He wants you to know if you're going to buy a game, anybody can play this. Your 3-year-old can play this. And I probably wouldn't have understood this when I was younger, but I fully understand now that I'm a father, that, you know, there's stuff that I would not want my kid to do. There's movies I would not want my kid to see. There's video games I would not want my kid to play. And so I fully understand that, you know, this system can say anything you buy for this, your kid can play it. There's going to be no problem. And that was how it was when I was a kid. If my parents bought an Intellivision game, there's no reason for them to say this isn't for you, or you know, you can't play this because it's too violent or something like that. You couldn't have said the same with the Atari, though. The Atari opened up to anybody, and there was a line of games that were not appropriate for kids, even though they're not as you know, I don't know, they're pretty tame, but I mean, still, the concept of them would have not been appropriate for kids. But that was because the Atari just opened it up to anybody to make games for their system. There wasn't any kind of seal of quality, any kind of control or anything, which a lot of people are going to say it's kind of the reason for the crash. The Atari creep is saying the Amico is targeting people like me, not a retro player, but as a guy that can't stand or grasp modern stuff, but still wants something new to play. Exactly. That is my point too. And this is kind of going back to what I was saying when I walk into a Walmart and I look at, or Toys R Us, or wherever, you know, a store that sells video games, and I look at modern games. I don't see anything there for me. Like, hardly anything. In fact, even when the PlayStation 2 came out, there was a few games I didn't mind, but I found myself gravitating towards games like, you know, the arcade classics. In fact, on my channel now, I'm doing a series of games, or a series of videos, I should say, where I'm talking about the classics on the PlayStation. And that's kind of the same idea. I was gravitating towards the classics, the old stuff, and I wasn't really getting too much into the modern stuff, which I thought was kind of silly. You know, I paid all this money for this brand new system, and I'm playing old stuff on it, because I didn't like a lot of the new stuff. In fact, I didn't have that feeling since probably the Nintendo days, the original Nintendo, where I liked buying new games, because I knew I would enjoy the game. Green Lantern saying, one thing I do hope they do that Nintendo didn't do is make the games online playable, even if it's not all for some games to play with other people online. Yes, that is something I thought would be interesting too. One of the downsides to a lot of the original Intellivision games, and I know that this has been talked about before, was the original Intellivision was sold with 2 built-in controllers. It was designed as a 2-player machine. Even though a lot of games could be played in 1-player mode, the system was really designed for multiplayers. Well, specifically 2, because you couldn't add any more on. So adding an online element to it kind of makes it interesting, in that if you are alone, you could still play opponents. Because that was one of the downsides to things like boxing, for instance, the original hockey. Some of the sports titles didn't have a 2-player mode. Or sorry, didn't have a 1-player mode. It only had a 2-player mode, so you can't play them. kind of on the same idea with the Atari with games like Combat, designed for 2 players. So having an online aspect to it really is interesting in that we can actually play these games online against other people, the way that they're meant to be played as multiplayer. And of course that opens it up to a lot of other players at the same time. So just want to see where we're at there. I would love Double Dragon 2 online to play with someone else. Yeah, and that's the other thing too. I think I might have briefly talked about this, but one of the misconceptions was the whole thing about ports, and he did say that this is not going to have ports, and what he meant by that was definitely not what people interpreted it as, in that everything would be unique. And so there is a lot of potential for ports to be put onto the system, but they're going to be ported in a way where it's exclusive to the system. And I remember watching a video today where he was trying to explain that, saying things like, he thought he was pretty clear when he said that, but people misinterpreted it saying there's going to be no ports, meaning every game is going to be completely unique, and there's not going to be any kind of, you're not going to see a Cuphead game, you're not going to see, anything that you're used to. But simply what he was saying was, you're not going to be able to see the exact same game on the Xbox and on the Amico. That's all he was saying. And it opens a lot of doors for programmers to say, hey, maybe I can make a Castlevania game. Maybe I can make a Double Dragon game. Maybe I can make... But they just got to make it unique to the system. The graphics are going to be unique. Just like Carl did with this Donkey D2K, I should say. This is a take on the original Donkey Kong game. But it's in his own graphics, it's in his own programming skills. It's different. So just adding that slight difference. And you can't play this on a Nintendo because it's not on the Nintendo. It's on the Intellivision. The Nintendo version is its own version. So it's slightly different. Let's see. So yeah, I think I've kind of covered everything I wanted to say. I know this was more of a rambling type of video. I just wanted to say that because I like his approach. I like Tommy's approach on how he's open to discussing this. He's gone on many YouTubers' channels and he's talking directly with them about this, which is admirable because I don't think anybody that has to do with the Atari VCS has gone on to any YouTube channels or anything like that. Usually you reach the PR people. You reach the people who are, the spokespeople. You don't actually hit the top person, which, says a lot. Which shows a lot of his personality and his passion for this. And to, get this thing out on the market and to do things properly, it's pretty much his baby. And this is where, again, I think there's a lot of, people, the naysayers, who don't understand that. Who are just like, oh, this is a cash grab. Well, if this was a cash grab, he would probably sit behind some PR team to try and clean up any dirt and, damage control. And he's not doing that. He's jumping on these people and saying, hey, you're being misinformed, or you're not getting it. You're not listening. You're looking at the first 5 seconds of it, or you're making a blanketed statement or a quick judgment, and this is not the way it is. This is not the way it's going to work. But whatever. I mean, that's just the way it's going down right now, and I think there's it's interesting, and I'm going to be continuously following along. Every time there's going to be any new information, I'm going to be happy to talk about it. It's just, to me, I'm excited about this, and it's just because I like the idea that the simple 2D fun games are going to come back, and not just in the form of a mobile app or something I can only play on my phone, or I have to play it on an iPad or anything like that. Something tangible, something that's going to have proper controllers that I can use, that are dedicated to the system, that give me that nostalgic feel like I'm playing on the Intellivision, but give me a new experience. So I'm really excited about this, and like I said, I've been going on other videos and making comments and stuff, and of course some people are like, calling me things like, oh, what are you, a shill, or whatever. Somebody said that I'm being paid to say this stuff. No, I'm not. Most of us are not. We're not being paid to say this. This is our passion. It's what we like. We like these original games. We like to play them, and that's it. Why would I? Who's going to pay me to talk like this? So, it's just something that I'm curious, and I just can't wait to see more information. Apparently, the next video that Tommy's going to put out, or the next full release, there is going to be gameplay footage. So we are finally going to be able to see that. So hopefully that'll happen. Anyways, I'd just like to thank everybody that came in on the chat. I think this went a little bit longer than I expected. Mostly just me rambling on about it, but it was pretty cool. And oh, look, so we got Coleco Joe just jumped in on the chat at near the end here. But yeah, I enjoyed hearing some people's opinions on this, and talking to the people who are actually excited about this thing. And it's refreshing to see some videos out there, with people actually talking about this in a more civil manner, and not just slamming it. Like the same thing with the At Games products and everything else. People are just too quick to slam the retro stuff, too quick to jump on the idea that everybody's just out there to make money. And I don't see that. This is not the type of thing that people make money on. This is a nostalgia thing. This is dealing on people who are actually passionate about playing games. It's not about making money. You want to make money, get into modern stuff. That's where the money is. That's where the big game is. That's where all the stuff is talking about, not the retro market. Anyways, thanks everybody for coming in. For those who lasted this long and who are watching this, thanks for spending your time here. Video Game Dust Sleeves has got a good point there. Don't knock it until you try it. And I think that's what we have to do. We just got to wait and see what happens, and not be so quick to judge. Anyways, hope everybody has a good night, and I don't know what I'll be doing, if I'll be doing another one of these chats, depending on what information comes up. But feel free to leave stuff in the comments section below, and I will check them, and I will respond to your comments when I see them. And hope everybody has a good night.